Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. Today, Google has finally released Bard, which is their AI chat program, to Australia. It had previously been locked down to particular locations, and I was able to access this. You join a wait list, but they contacted me with the login details pretty quickly, and so here we are. This is just a very quick first look. I'm going to do more videos, particularly around how it goes with coding. But I just wanted to share with you some of the findings that I've had with these first few prompts and things that I've tried, and looking at how it compares to the Bing AI and, of course, to ChatGPT. So starting out with a pretty vain one, I guess, first up, asking about myself, and it does a pretty good job. Fairly sure I know where it has pulled that info from, but it's done a pretty nice job. When we run a prompt in Bard, we get the option to also search in Google for that particular thing. We can give a thumbs up, thumbs down. We can report any legal issues we can copy. The other thing that it does, but only for the most recent one, and I think this is probably the coolest feature, is you have this little drop down saying view other drafts. So when we hit that, we can see that there was actually 3 drafts that Bard produced, and we are just seeing what it thinks is the best one. I really like this feature, particularly with coding. It gives us a couple of different options, but even when it's doing some writing for us, we get some different drafts that we can compare rather than just that single output. After searching for myself, next thing I searched for was a topic where I've done a fair bit of research, and it did a pretty decent job. One thing that's a little bit disappointing is that it doesn't give references without prompting for them. So it would have been nice to see some references here. I could have prompted for that, but I kind of carried on with some other things that I wanted to ask it. But content-wise, pretty good. Bing, I think, probably has the edge at the moment where just by default it will spit out references. Coming down to our next one, and this is the first point where it failed. So I asked it to write a 1,500 word blog post about false positives and AI detection, and it said, I'm a language model, I can't do this. And so I did a little bit of experimenting to try and figure out what was going on here, and we'll see that shortly. Then it managed to have another fail. So you may have seen my recent video where I produced a Shiny app in R using ChatGPT. Did it first time, piece of cake, no issues. When I asked more or less the same prompt here, it said it's not programmed to assist with that. Later on, I did manage to change the way that I was doing my prompts and get it to do this. So we'll have a look at that in a second. But carrying on with some of the other things I tried. So I asked it to write a tweet thread and did a pretty reasonable job. We could throw that into Twitter or LinkedIn if we wanted. The content, so what it's actually written about the risks of AI in higher education, are all pretty reasonable things. And then I prompted it to write some more, and it wrote a little bit more. And again, quite reasonable content. So that was pretty good. Then I thought I would come back to this issue where it was saying it didn't want to write that blog post for me. And so what I figured out after a couple of goes is the bit that it didn't like was APA referencing. So as soon as I took APA referencing out of there, then it was happy to write an article for me. So that is one thing that it doesn't like in its prompts. But if we just say write a 1,500 word article, then there it goes. And again, I asked a topic where I was pretty confident it could do a reasonable job, and talking about AI in higher education, it indeed did a pretty decent job. We already knew that because we'd seen that tweet thread already. Asked it to state its references, and it gave me these references. They're not hyperlinked, so that's a little bit annoying. Again, Bing AI gives you hyperlinks to the references, and they do look like they are web-based references rather than academic or books or papers, journal articles, things like that. So I want to experiment a little bit more with this and see whether it will actually do some proper academic referencing if I push it a little bit harder. And again, asked if it would format these in APA, and it told me to get lost. It clearly doesn't like APA. So then I thought I would come back to this issue where it wouldn't write R code for me. Can you write R code? Yes, I can. So the thing that I changed about my prompt is instead of saying write, I said generate. Just because I noticed they used generate the code here in their description. And as soon as I changed from write to generate R code, then it gave me R code. So I asked for something very simple. It more or less delivered. Really, it should, the library it's calling should be tidyverse rather than datasets. So this is actually not quite right. If we ran this and we hadn't already run tidyverse, then it wouldn't know what ggplot was. It might not even know diamonds. I'm not 100% sure if it's in the datasets library or not. So this was just a little bit off. ChatGPT, on the other hand, seems to be much better with code. This is something I'm going to come back to, do some more videos and experimenting with. Then I came to a trickier one. So this was the one I asked earlier, producing the Shiny app. This is something I did in a very recent video, and ChatGPT did an amazing job of this. And when we look at this code, it looks vaguely right. When we run it though, we've realized that there's a couple of little bugs in it, and I haven't gone through and debugged all of it, but it does suggest that Bard is not yet at the same coding standard that ChatGPT is. So that is it for this first view of Bard. If you haven't had a look, jump over to bard.google.com and you will find out whether your particular region is now it's available. And if it is, jump in, have a play. It's certainly nice to have more tools to be able to contrast each other. And the more people that are using it, the better hopefully it will get as well. Thanks for watching. I will be back soon with more videos on R, statistics, research, and other random stuff, including a few more about Bard.